We are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
Whoop. You just dropped something, but he's good. All right. Big show this week. Tesla earnings, always another news that comes out of that, but also a few other things to talk about. So we're going to start out with the earnings and all the main news that came out of it on top of the earnings themselves. Talk a little bit about the situation in California right now. It's pretty crazy. There was a big hearing with the DMV all week that's been very interesting to follow from the sideline. We probably won't have any result from that for quite a bit, but it doesn't look good for Tesla. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Then we talk about the only thing that's going good for Tesla money-wise is a Supercharger, and it's expanded this week to Honda, Acura, and Lucid owners. So that's great news. Then we talk a little bit about solid-state batteries and new cheap Chinese EV, which we try to cover one pretty much every week, and a little bit more to talk about. But let's talk about the big Tesla earnings here. How did it go? Basically, on the big two, the earnings per share and the revenue, Tesla basically hit expectation, maybe exceeded a little bit on the revenue front. But other than that, the expectation were already low, obviously. Other than that, it was pretty terrible earnings. The biggest factor was free cash flow. It was down, like you see here, all the metrics on the side. The only thing that is up is the revenue for service and other revenues, which is due to Tesla, charging more for service and supercharger expansion with the other automakers that's bringing more revenue. Other than that, everything else is down. Total revenue is down. Total gross margins are down. Operating expenses, well, that's actually good, but it's just down 1%, while the income from operation is down 42%. But the big one that people are really concerned about is the free cash flow, which is down 89% year over year to just 146 million. So Tesla is at the verge of losing money. Actually, the cash position went down for the first time by about 200 million for the first time. But the free cash flow is the real concern because Tesla doesn't get the ZEV credit next quarter, and then boom, it start losing money. Obviously, next quarter it will lose the ZEV credit from the US, but probably won't lose money in Q3 just because of the demand from the US that's being brought forward thanks to the Trump administration killing the tax credit. So not great news, but for Tesla, it's going to save them from another backwater. And other than that, no big surprise, really. From the earnings themselves, just as bad as we expected, basically. But then when Tesla didn't really go down, the stock price didn't go down from the actual earning result because it met expectation. It just started trading sideways. But then it started dropping like crazy when Elon started talking, because it was probably. Did you listen to the call set?
I didn't. I listened to some of it afterwards, but
yeah, it was a bad one. It was a really bad one. Like Elon. He just used all his old lines, of it's all about robots now, and it's going to be a trillion company. I see a path to Tesla being worth 20 trillion and all that. Just all his
old favorites.
Yeah, all his old favorites, exactly. There was quite a few encore that was asked by the shareholders, and they did it. But yeah, it's not looking good. So let me see. Let me remind myself of what the big headlines were, because I did a few articles that came out of the earnings themselves. Let me see here. So, all right. So a lot of it had to do with the Robotaxi, and Elon saying things about the Robotaxi, about the current existing program in Austin. He just said that they are a few weeks away to expand again. But they're only talking about expanding the service area, and adding a few cars. That's what they're talking about right now. In terms of the actual mileage, Ashok Aswani, the head of self-driving, actually shared the mileage. So the first month, the whole month, it's been about a month since Tesla launched the Robotaxi in Austin, 7,000 miles. That's it. So that's not a lot. And like all of that is like Tesla influencer driving in circle, because they
Right.
do not, people are not really using the service as it's intended to. It's just, they're just doing it for likes on X. That's mainly what's happening right now. And, I'm trying to get some data of the intervention, because we don't have that. Tesla is not sharing that. Obviously, they never did. We don't expect them to do it. It would be, it would make too much sense, really. Like, if you're really trying to build confidence, like, release that. But obviously, Tesla doesn't want to. I wonder why. But I already saw, like, can confirm 7 right now intervention that we've seen. So that's 1 per 1,000 miles. That's already, like, not great. It's just like twice as good as the FSD, public FSD that's in consumer vehicles right now, and 10 times worse than Waymo. But that's just what I could confirm from live streams and videos that those Tesla influencers posted. I'm sure that there are like dozens more that they never released and never talked about, because obviously they are Tesla influencers and they are heavily invested in Tesla, and they are incentivized not to share that. So it's not looking good for that. But then, sure enough, like, who cares? And it's all about the future. It's all about scaling and scaling fast. And Elon said a few things that were quite crazy. First one, he said that he now expect Robotaxi to cover half of the U.S. population by the end of the year. And that's just insane, obviously. I had to do some math to just, like, understand just how insane it was. And I pulled up all of the biggest metro areas that Tesla needs to launch in order to cover 165 million people, which is half the U.S. population, by the end of the year. This is those metro area here. How many do you think they are?
30?
47. You have to go down all the way to Birmingham, Alabama, and all of the bigger cities before Birmingham, which is a lot. Buffalo is actually bigger than Birmingham. Didn't know that. Hartford is bigger than those, and New Orleans and so on, all the way to New York City, Los Angeles, and Atlanta and all that. So that's to cover 165 million people. Tesla would need to go from Austin, which is, by the way, 24 on that list, and cover 46 other cities by the end of the year to do that. Obviously, it makes no sense. It's impossible to do that in 5 months. So it's a pure lie. Like, it's not. People like to say, it's an exaggeration. It's not a lie. It's like a bold target. If it's impossible to do it, and Elon should know that, or otherwise he's a complete idiot. And you can make an argument about that, but it's impossible. So it's a lie. Unless, and this is the craziest part too, what we learned in the last few days, and what something that was said in the earnings call too, is that Tesla is rumored to launch the Robotaxi, and I use Robotaxi in quotes here, in the Bay Area as soon as this weekend, so in the next few weeks. And they did say that in the earning call. Do I have it here? Yeah, this is the next one here. Okay. So Robotaxi in the Bay Area. The big thing to note here is, like, when they said that, they said the Bay Area would be actually the next market that they launched to. On the call, they didn't say when, but now the rumor is as soon as this weekend. I was like, how does that happen? Tesla doesn't have the permits required to launch an autonomous driving service in California. How did they make that happen? Well, we know how they're going to make that happen, thanks to, again, our friend Ashok Aswani. The next is the San Francisco Bay Area. That's from the earnings call. We're working with the government to get approval here. And meanwhile, we will launch their service with a person in the driver's seat just to expedite while we wait for regulatory approval. By the way, waiting for regulatory approval means Tesla still needs to file for the permit. So they are not waiting. They're waiting to file. They're not waiting after the government. Tesla is the one holding this up right now. So it's purely for optics again. They're going to launch the service with someone in driver's seat. So that means it's not going to be autonomous at all. It's going to be FSD. So this is going to be the equivalent of, like, you're landing at SFO at the San Francisco airport, and you're calling a Uber, and it happens to be a guy in a Tesla that has FSD. and he shows up and you get in the car. This is the exact same thing that Tesla's going to launch. So now I have to revise what I said earlier about Tesla being covering 50% of the US population with Robotaxi by the end of the year, because it could be as simple, and I'm not kidding here, it could be as simple as Tesla just launching the Robotaxi app in all those cities with a few cars in each cities, with someone behind the driver's seat with FSD and claiming that this is the Robotaxi service. We are at that point of like how ridiculous Tesla is being right now, because this is exactly what they're going to do in San Francisco, maybe as soon as this weekend. It's completely crazy. And to be clear, what the Tesla is doing in Texas right now is the same thing, but with the person in the driver's seat, the supervisor in the driver's seat, being moved to the front passenger seat. And the only reason they're doing that is because they are allowed to under Texas law. And just to be clear, by the way, I'm not like criticizing Tesla for doing that specifically. I'm glad that Tesla has supervisor inside the car, because just like I said, there's been dozens of intervention in Austin in the last month since launching Robotaxi. What would have happened if there were no intervention from those guys? Potential accident. So obviously we want that. My main issue is Tesla just like calling this a Robotaxi service in the first place. It's all for show. It's all for optics. Tesla doesn't have a level 4 system right now, so that's what they're pushing, and to push the stock, obviously. So it's the stock is becoming the product, and the tools to make the product happen is, hyping up Robotaxi and hyping up Optimus, which was also hyped up during the call, but a little bit less so than Robotaxi because it's less imminent. Obviously, Elon is talking about 100,000 units per month next year. But Tesla launched the Tesla Diner this week, which looks pretty cool, by the way. And they used an Optimus robot to serve popcorn in there. And the first day it failed, and they couldn't get it to work anymore. And they also confirmed that it was teleoperated by a human, so it's not being.
Well, it stopped working, I think, because so many people were using the Starlink service that the teleoperator couldn't operate the Optimus.
That was the excuse that they were using, like that the Starlink, too many people on the Starlink. But at the end of the day, it means that there was a teleoperator,
right?
And that doesn't scale. You cannot scale that. All right, this was another interesting comment too for us hardware 3 owners with FSD. We're kind of screwed now because during the earning call, when are they going to retrofit their cars with the hardware 3 cars with the new computers? They admitted in January, after like years and years of pushing it back, they finally admitted that they won't support unsupervised self-driving. So since 6 months now, we've been waiting. Okay, what's going to be the solution? And we have to wait indefinitely, apparently, because when asked that, again, El Swami said, what we want to do is get unsupervised done on hardware 4 first. Once it's done, then we'll go back and look at what we need to do with hardware 3 cars. Like I said, the focus is to first get unsupervised out, and then we'll go back to see what more work we need to do. So
as a hardware 3 person, are you okay with that response? Because I'm not.
No, it's insane. It's insane. I bought it in 2018.
Yeah.
And you're telling me like we need to make it sure it works on now a 2 years old computer that we cannot make it work too, so that we can then upgrade your now 7 years old car. It makes no sense. There's nothing that doesn't make sense. The only thing that made sense to me is actually pretty funny, is Tesla admitting that they haven't solved unsupervised on hardware 4. That's what they're saying. If they're saying we want to get unsupervised done on hardware 4 first, that means it's not working. And this is Tesla putting their foot in their mouth, because Elon, on this very same call, previous ones, kept hammering the fact, like to build confidence with the consumer base, that, hey, Robotaxi, unsupervised, launching in Austin, is using the exact same hardware in consumer vehicles, which is hardware 4. So like we've solved unsupervised. Look at Robotaxi. It's just, it's going to take a little bit of time before it comes to consumer cars. He just admitted it's not solved on hardware 4. And now Elon says it's going to happen by the end of the year, but obviously we heard that every year for the last 6 years, so who cares? It's just crazy stuff. All right. Then what else we have? Oh yeah, we have also Elon finally admitting that the new affordable electric car is the Model Y. He straight up said it during the call. It was pretty funny. We've been reporting on this for months, and there's been a lot of confusion amongst the Tesla community about that, mainly because of his deny of the new affordable car being canceled report. Um, it was the car program, the NV91 and the NV92 that were canceled, and Tesla replaced them with stripped down Model 3s and Model Ys that are coming up. And we've been reporting that for almost a year now. But like because Elon denied the original report, people didn't believe it. But now on the call, one of the analysts asked what this car is going to look like, and then I think it was the CFO that started to respond saying, we're not going to get into details of what it looks like. And then Elon interjected and interrupted him. And it says, it's a Model Y. It's the Model Y. The cat is out of the bag. The cat is dense. Then he went on a crazy rant about the cat dancing or something. I didn't understand that. So it was hard to understand him because he was talking over the CFO. But he clearly said, it's the Model Y. And then he went on a rant about how the only reason Tesla is having issues selling cars right now is because they're too expensive and people want them badly, but they cannot afford them, which is partly true, I guess, but it has a lot more problems, I think, than just affordability of their vehicles. So he then went on to explain that they started production apparently in June, but I'd be careful to see what they mean about production there, because Tesla for the last year has been talking about launching these vehicles in the first half of 2025. So I think they just want to try to say that they're not behind schedule, even though they are. But now, even if they could launch it, I don't think they would launch it in Q3. I think they're going to wait until Q4 just because of all that forward demand in the US due to the tax credit. So then Tesla's vehicle become more expensive, but then you launch a lower price version, and then Tesla is going to compensate a little bit for that. But I think the new vehicle is not going to stop Tesla's bleeding, not Tesla stop the volume decrease. It's just going to cannibalize the Model Y, lower margins, and avoid a further decline in total delivery. Basically.
How do you think they're going to reduce the price? Are they going to bring back the old design? Are they going to remove the autopilot cameras? Like what's the cost cutting measures? Obviously, smaller battery motors.
Yeah, probably. I don't know, smaller battery, maybe smaller battery, probably smaller motors. But I don't think they're gonna remove any of the Autopilot hardware. I think we can look at the Model 3 that they launched in Mexico last year as an example. So cloth seat rather than leather, vegan leather, no rear screen, no ambient lights, no double pane acoustic windows. These things, maybe a few more, maybe on the exterior, no light bar, maybe no light bar in the front, maybe no light bar in the back, maybe no light bar in both. I don't know. Maybe no matrix headlights, things like that. So yeah, in a sense, you're right. Like going back in some of the lines that were already developed, so that you don't have to invest too much also in the development process. But yeah, a lot of that I think would make sense. So this is a big difference, because the report of Elon canceling the affordable Tesla was the $25,000 Tesla that they were working on the Unbox platform. This is confirmed to be canceled. Now this is going to be closer to, for the Model Y, probably around 35, I guess, 30, 35, and for the Model 3 around 30, 35, a little bit less expensive than the Model Y. All right, this is a big one. I've been reporting on this coming for a while, but this is happening this week. Not the result, but the actual hearings happening this week. So the DMV in California has been suing Tesla over false advertising of Autopilot and full self-driving. They say that Tesla's in their communication are misleading the public, and it's resulting in dangerous situation where people are overconfident in the system. They think it's self-driving and whatnot. Now, this has been going since 2021. There have been a lot of back and forth, but Tesla has been fighting them back on it. And now it's in court in Oakland this week. And I've been following some of the transcript of what's going on and everything, and it's pretty damning. Like the Tesla just doesn't look good all the way through this. They have this guy. Did I put the guy's name in this report? He's so one of the person. Oh yeah, so Brian Walker Smith. Remember that name, Brian Walker Smith, who's a professor of law at the University of South Carolina, a voting member of the Society of Automotive Engineers on the Road Automated Driving Standard Committee, and he's basically one of the guy that wrote the language for the automated system, the levels of automated driving system for the SAE. So he's a very important guy, and he was one of the people being giving testimony on behalf of the DMV, and his testimony was extremely damning of Tesla. And from what we hear, the judge was responding very well to his testimony and not liking Tesla's counter interrogation and not liking Tesla's own witnesses that came to defend them, including like a linguist that was apparently like insufferable, trying to explain like the etymology of the word autopilot and self-driving to try to justify the names and everything. And some of what she said was like nonsensical. Like she sounded like a Tesla lawyer. And these people are being paid so much that I didn't know that. Like one of them was getting paid like $1,000 an hour. The other guy today that I saw that is being interrogated today and giving testimony, that is he's a survey guy. So he did a survey for Tesla to try to prove that people are not confused by the names. And this guy was getting paid $750 an hour. He expected to be paid like $100,000 for his testimony. And the guy literally, here's what he did set for the survey. He replaces the names of Autopilot with driving suite and full self-driving with complete driving suite. And he tested as a control. He tested that between with what Tesla had on the website, full self-driving Autopilot, versus that to see what is more confusing to people. That was $100,000 survey. Does that sound useful to you?
Not really, no.
Yeah, and that's literally what the judge said. Like, did your survey only check if like one was more, if your made up word for what Autopilot and full self driving would be more or less confusing than Autopilot and full self driving? And he was like, yeah, basically.
Why not?
But this guy Walker Smith, this guy basically just torched Tesla for using these terms and say that they should not ever been applied for driver assistance system, which is what they are right now, what they always have been. And the only thing that I've been disappointed, because the whole thing looks terrible for Tesla right now, and the thing is, the DMV is seeking to suspend Tesla's dealer license in California for this. So we're talking about stopping sales in California, which would be a big deal for Tesla, especially this quarter, even though I don't know if it's going to be resolved this quarter. But even if it's like next month or something, and like they shut down Tesla's license for like September, this Tesla would be screwed. It would be terrible for the automaker. But and this is a real thing that's happening now. And I think that the rush to launch Robotaxi, and again, I use Robotaxi in quotes because it's going to be with a safety driver and the front seat in California, even though they have no permits for it, even though they are not even able to charge money for it right now. So it's not going to be even for like the Robotaxi system. It would be free if they bring non-employee on board. I think they're rushing to do that in response to what is happening right now at the DMV, because they want an excuse for it to get shut down. We're like, all right, this is not our fault. It's the regulators. It's the California DMV, bunch of woke liberals attacking us. I can see it coming, like as good as it comes, as clear as it comes.
Sure.
Even though there's so much evidence that Tesla should not have been using these words, and it's not a political thing. It's not a California thing. The same thing happened in France. Same thing happened in Norway. The Tesla has been heavily criticized by regulators for the use of those words. But yeah, this guy Brian Walker-Smith might put the first domino that's gonna crumble Tesla in the next year or two. To be fair, though, I think it would be wild to remove the dealer license for this. I think
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think a fine would make more sense. Obviously,
Yeah,
just fine them for having used that, and then made them pay every cost that the DMV had to fight them over this, because they fought them tooth and nail for you just should have like, all right, let's change the name. Let's do Copilot is way better.
State of Charge, Tom Malogny maybe in the comments says, I think California should fine Tesla heavily instead of a ban on sales. I think that punished its residents that went to buy one and political revenge. And a ban would look.
I don't know about political revenge. Like I said, I think like this has been going on for years, and it's fair too. I think there's real issues with the names. But okay, so no, you mean that if they would ban the sales, it would be more political revenge? Yeah, probably. No, I agree with a fine. A fine would make a lot more sense. A good one that would force them to like rethink the whole branding strategy there. All right, last thing about Autopilot before we move to other news. Tesla released this Autopilot safety report this week for Q2. And we've been critiquing the safety report quite a bit for a bunch of reasons about the methodology being self-reported. So Tesla only counts crashes that trigger the airbag and restraint versus minor bumps that are minor fender bender and all that are included in the broader data that they're comparing themselves into. So that right there, it's completely invalidates the whole comparison thing, and Tesla being 10 times safer than a human driver makes no sense. There's also the road bias, because this is they're talking about Autopilot feature being engaged, and they're mostly engaged on highways, and on a per mile basis, there's a lot fewer crashes on highways and on roads and city streets. So again, another big bias. And then there's the fleet age and luxury level that are also skew towards fewer crashes. And so all these things make all these comparison between, so Tesla compares Tesla vehicle using Autopilot technology, Tesla vehicle not Autopilot technology but having them, and United States average mileage between crashes. So the comparison between them is completely useless. However, I think there's still value in comparing Tesla's vehicle using Autopilot technology over time, especially year over year. You cannot do quarter over quarter much, because there's also the seasonality of accidents. So daylight is a big issue with accident, and also just road conditions. So winter and all that is worse for accident. But if you compare Q2 2025 to Q2 2024, it went down for Tesla. So safety regressed with Autopilot technology in 2025. Same thing for Q1 to Tesla had a pretty good Q1, but it was worse than Q1 2024. So far in 2025, you can say for a fact that Tesla's Autopilot technology safety has regressed. So not a good look for Tesla, especially amid this concern with Robotaxi and in California also. All right. Like I said earlier, the only thing that grew for Tesla was the service and others for the revenue, and that includes the Supercharger network. And Tesla actually mentioned it, that one of the main reasons that the service and others grew was that the utilization rate of the Supercharger network and the onboarding of non-Tesla EV owners is resulting in more revenue. And we saw more of that this week with Honda getting access. Why is this post not opening? Because I just wanted to see exactly what are the details of it. So they're supplying a plug. No, so you can buy. So Honda drivers, so basically the Honda Prologue owner and ZDX owners from Acura can,
which are basically Chevy Blazer.
Yeah, the Honda Dream Shop for $225. And I want to see something, because I didn't cover this one, but I covered the Lucid one, and I was shocked by the limitation of the charge adapter. Did they say it on a Honda? in Acura? No, they don't talk about it.
I mean,
There's no
Lucid
limitation.
charges at 800 volts, so I wonder if that's this is just basically a regular charger.
Yeah, but that would mean they cannot charge at over like 300 kilowatts. But for the Lucid, I got jumped a little bit ahead, but Lucid also announced being onboarded on the Tesla Supercharger network as soon as next week. Though they announced, I think the 31st is the first day that you can have access. And I'm talking about Lucid Air owners, obviously, because the Gravity is as a native NACS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 31st. So the Air owners are going to be onboarded on the 31st. And for some reason, they say that, so again, you have to buy it. It's $5 cheaper than the Honda one. It's $220. But they say that the charge is limited to 50 kilowatts, 200 miles of range per hour. So
That's
it's,
weak.
yeah, that doesn't make no sense to me, like, especially for $220. And you're gonna make the charging session so much longer, so you're gonna increase traffic at the stations. Like it's almost not worth it. Like I don't know why it's so limited. So State of Charge said that the adapter is rated at 1,000-volt 500 amps. So the adapter is not the limiting factor. Then what is the limiting factor? Is it Tesla? Is Tesla
I mean,
not?
does Tesla have a beef with Lucid? Is that maybe they're punishing
I
them?
mean, it would have to. So, State of Charge, obviously, very knowledgeable about this. As the name says, the Prologue can charge up to 150 kilowatt, and the ZDX can charge up to 190. They can charge the same supercharger as they will on the other DC fast charger, and can so. Okay, so he's talking about the Honda here. So maybe unless they use the same adapter as the Lucid here, but I don't know what's the hold up for Lucid.
I feel like the Lucid's probably a political thing.
You think so? That would be wild, because there's plenty of other automakers that Tesla could have issues with, and they haven't done that with it. So it's kind of a bummer.
Oh, he says it's the 50 kilowatt limit is because of the Wonder Box.
The Wonder Box. That's what is that's not the onboard? Yeah,
I think
I don't
that's
remember
Lucid's onboard thing, right?
Yeah, but that's for the Wonder Box is not for level 2. Is the inverter, like the DC fast charging bypasses that? No.
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, we'll explore that a little bit more. But I was disappointed by that, obviously. All right. Mercedes says that it's testing now its solid-state batteries in current electric vehicle with over 600 miles of range. I don't know if you've been following this solid-state space in the last few weeks, Seth, but it's been pretty crazy. Like QuantumScape and Solid Power, which, to be fair, I'm invested in. I've been up like 150% in the last few weeks. It's been crazy. There's no like clear. I mean, there's been some announcement and everything, but nothing that would warrant that kind of explosion in prices. I think there is mostly kind of a lot of excitement about solid-state battery, which I've for a long time been like, the next big breakthrough in battery technology, but it's always a few years away. Now I think most people are starting to think that it's happening. It's going to happen, and a lot of automakers like Mercedes-Benz are investing heavily in that. Mercedes-Benz is working with fractional, I think, or fractional. I keep Factorial Energy. So they are the company developing the solid state batteries for them, and they're talking now about being in commercially available vehicle by 2030. And they are seeing right now in their current test vehicles, they're seeing 600 miles of range with it. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily mean that what they're going to launch the vehicle at is just the current battery capacity they're testing. But what they're saying, so the EQS, for example, has a WLTP of 511 miles. So yeah, obviously Mercedes being a European maker, they're going to use WLTP. So the 620 miles here is probably based on that. But in EPA would still be over 500 miles, I would think. But yeah, I'm starting to be confident now that there's going to be a few automakers that are going to have EVs available with solid state batteries. It's not going to be a big thing for a while, though. I think there's going to be a healthy mix of a bunch of different chemistry, and solid state battery is going to be reserved for the high end vehicle at first. Yeah, and slowly but surely they're going to make it down market over time. All right, we have 3 more news articles that we want to discuss, and then we can jump into the comment section. So if you guys have questions for us, it can be about any of the topics we discussed today: the Tesla earnings, the Robotaxi, the NACS expansion, solid state batteries, and all that, or any other topic in the EV world that you wanted to discuss. You can put it in the comment section below, and we're going to get to it in about 5-10 minutes and talk to you guys about all this. All right, BYD has launched the Atto 1, not sure how you pronounce it. But as usual, the big headline with Chinese EVs is the price. It's launching at the equivalent of $12,000. And it's basically, so where is launching? It's launching in Indonesia now. And it's basically the Seagull EV rebadge and respec for the market, but for $12,000 you get 30 kilowatt hour by BYD Blade battery, which is their LFP battery, by the way, for 186 miles of range. But then for just $14,500 you can upgrade it to the 38.8 battery, and you get over 200 miles of range on that, on the NEDC though. So that's the old certainly they're still on that in Indonesia. That's interesting. But yeah, it's in these cars are getting everywhere now, and they're getting pretty affordable. I think BYD and a few other like Chinese automakers are gonna hone all of these like developing markets now that haven't done EVs yet. So Indonesia, a bunch of other Southeast Asian market, South America. I think this is gonna be a big deal. I think with that kind of price point. Obviously, the infrastructure still needs to be developed, but they're working on that too, because obviously they want to own that also. Kia unveiled 7 new variants for the PV5 electric van. So they're going big on electric van right now. And the PV5 platform is quite versatile and enables a bunch of different configuration here. So let's see what they got for us. And that's the platform I just referenced. So where are the version here? All right, so you have the passenger and cargo that we already discussed. That starts at $37,000 for the cargo one, and then the passenger is $44,000. Currently available in the UK. But we don't have pictures of the new. I thought we had pictures of the new configurations. I know that there's a camper one. I know that there's a pickup one because you can also make it open in the back for a bed. But we don't have them there. No, that's a bummer. I thought we had those pictures. I saw them this week. Sorry about that. All right, and the last post that we wanted to discuss before jumping into the comment section is Lucid's 2026 Air lineup. So the Gravity is obviously taking all the headlines lately, especially after the Uber deal with 20,000 units and just being an SUV, and in North America that being a lot more popular. But the Lucid Air is still the best-selling luxury sedan right now in the US, and it's just got a little bit better. What's new? The big like spec wise, it's very similar, but, other than the Touring. So the Touring is the long-range all-wheel drive version of it. So it went from 406 miles to 431 miles of range, and it went up by $1,000. So you gained 25 miles, but it's now starts at basically $80,000. The Pure, so the base version, which was 420 miles, and it's still expected to get 420 miles, though the EPA rating hasn't been released just yet. That has also gone up by $1,000 from $69,900 to $7,900. So basically $71,000. And the Grand Touring, which is their crazy long mileage one, the 512 mile range, is still getting 512 miles, but it got a $4,000 price increase. Now it starts at $115,000. But if you want the longest mileage EV sedan out there, you have to go with the Grand Touring at $115,000. But there's a few other changes. So you get for those price increase, you get a quieter cabin, cooler cabin too. So a higher capacity AC compressor. So a lot of these changes basically have been developed for the Gravity, and now they're being transferred to the Air. The mobile charging cable is now standard, so that's that I like. So I think it's like $500 or $600 that you wouldn't have to pay if you needed one before that. Now it's included. There's a couple new wheel option for a 19-inch wheel called the Aeronaut, 5 triple spoke wheels. More pampering in the Grand Touring, so a 20-way massaging heated ventilated front seat that's now standard. So at least you get something for your $4,000 extra. And the Dream Drive Pro is now has a bunch of OTA updates that's coming for hands-free drive assist. We talked about that last week, I think. And automatic lane changes and the Supercharger access just been announced at the same time too. So that's about it for Lucid. A bunch of new announcements from them this week. Let's jump in the comment section a little bit.
Before we do that, what do you think of the Gravity as a minivan?
Well, to me, it looks like a very low minivan.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying that. I'm always kind of surprised that people are so harsh on minivans, because if you're inside one, it's much better than an SUV. Like, people obviously have that. You grew up with your parents taking you around in a minivan. It's not very cool for guys to have a minivan, but. Mm-hmm.
But the Gravity looks better too, so yeah, it sort of bridged the gap there from your point where no one's going to give you like a side eye for looking at the for driving a Gravity. Like,
right,
it's a beautiful looking car.
Yeah, maybe the Gravity will bring back the coolness to minivans or something, some weird thing like that.
Yeah, even though I think Lucid would take issues of us calling it a minivan.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, Lucid. All right, Carl says, I'm pretty sure it's been widely reported that Tesla contacts Wall Street Journal analysts, gives them wrong numbers to use as expected, and then they magically exceed them. It's a farce.
But they didn't really exceed them. A little bit on the revenue front, but not that much. And Wall Street analysts, like, if something I've learned in my now 10 years of working this job is like most of them are useless. Most of them are just completely useless. They make up numbers, and then when the stock goes up a little bit too much, they increase the price target. When it goes down a little bit too much, they decrease the price target. Like, it has nothing to do with the actual models of the financial of the company. It's hype. They're a bunch of overpaid morons, basically.
Maybe we should do a AI analyst, like Electrek's AI analyst. We'll just analyze everything, and we'll see if like our results are closer than.
I guarantee would be closer.
Yeah. All right, Dean McManus says the trouble for Tesla is that the decontented Model Y will probably be more expensive than the current Model Y with the $7,500 subsidy. It's an incentive for buying now, but not good for the new one. I don't know about those numbers, but what do you think?
It probably will be close to what Dean is describing, but maybe a little bit cheaper. I think Tesla's going to take an haircut on this too. Like, they're gonna have to take some margins off in the US.
Yeah.
So there's going to be that on top of the simply cheaper cost Model Y. But yeah, ultimately, I do agree that it won't change much Tesla's demand that much. It will kind of limit the bleeding a little bit, where Tesla's not gonna see a volume drop as big as it would have if it didn't have a cheaper option. That's it.
Yeah,
which is good.
We were talking about what Tesla could do to bring the price of the car down. We know that some brands overseas lease the battery. I think that would get Tesla to its price target. Instead of selling the car with the battery, they sell the car and you lease the battery, and basically your lease payments for the battery plus electricity would cost as much as gas. So maybe that's how they get the price down.
Yeah, and this is becoming a very popular format in China.
Yeah.
Lucid now is Neo is having some success with that. Yeah, it could be an actual solution. I don't know how, for me, I think in the US, part of the reason that has not pick up is kind of like you need to convince people to buy a car, not buying the batteries. Like, kind of takes convincing. But if you focus on removing the energy depreciation of the battery depreciation, it has some value. At the same time, Tesla has been hammering for years that its batteries, they don't lose that much power over time, and therefore they're not it's not really a problem, so it kind of goes against that.
All right, Dean McManus, Autopilot and Full Self-Driving were poor choices for names, and they were matched with Musk claims for FSD. Most people know that it was just a marketing exaggeration, but they should have changed it. I think that's...
Yeah, I mean, that's my main complaint about the DMV situation in California right now, is like their whole case revolved mostly around the names and what was on Tesla's website. I guess it's more like actionable, but I think they should include Elon's comments on it too, because Elon has been way overhyping the capacity of its level 2 driver assistance system as full self-driving and autopilot and all that. So, and Elon has a giant reach, and but I do understand that, like, oh yeah, there's the warnings on board and all that. But the DMV in the case had some very great points that I didn't even think about before. Is like, what happened if you rent a Tesla? So the disclaimer only happens when you activate Autopilot and FSD for the first time. But what if you get in someone else's car and they already have it and you can turn it on? There's not going to be any disclaimer on. Same thing if you rent the car. So there are plenty of situations where people can get inside a Tesla, drive it without ever getting any disclaimer and warnings about the use of FSD and Autopilot. And they can only rely on the names and on the alerts that they get after that point. But you could already be at risk at that point. So,
yeah. Interesting. Mike the Car Geek says, ironically, Chrysler called their cruise control Autopilot in the late 50s, but back then athletes made commercials for cigarettes. Yes. So
yeah, that actually was brought up in the case this week. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the linguist who brought it up. She said that in her research, she saw that. And that was a linguist paid by Tesla. But then the DMV was like, yeah, but it was removed quite quickly, that name. And they didn't go into the details of why it was removed, but I think it was removed because, it was people, especially it was the early days of cruise control. So people, by calling it Autopilot, people thought way more of it than it actually was, which was just like a regular cruise control.
Yeah, interesting. The actual Autopilot, like that you use in small airplanes. I mean, obviously big airplanes have that, but that Autopilot just points you in a direction and at an added altitude, and that's it. Like, I mean, it's obviously a lot easier in the air to, you don't have to worry about streets or traffic or whatever. I mean, you do have to worry about traffic, but
to a limit, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, basically you put on the Autopilot and you point the plane at a, direction, like a vector, and at an altitude, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Judy says there are almost none of both of these models, the Acura and the Honda. I think they actually did sell all right.
Yeah, the Prologue is selling like if not like 5,000 a month or a quarter. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's interesting about the Wonder Box. Maybe.
So it's more than the onboard charger, but I still don't understand why it limits that much the connector.
Yeah, maybe some sort of adapter can kind of tie that stuff together. All right, we need a review of the Tesla Diner. I think maybe we'll make Jamie go to that. He can.
Good luck making Jamie go to that.
I was going to say he could protest it while he's there.
Yeah, but he's a vegetarian, and there's no, or he's even vegan. I don't remember if Jamie's, maybe he's in the chat right now, but there's no vegan option. There's no vegetarian option on the menu.
That's funny. Well, you could
so I've seen a few of the reviews of the Tesla Diner. Like, a few things people like when I actually admit something good about this. It looks super cool. Like, it looks nice. I have to admit, I like the look. It looks insanely cool. I do indulge in fast food at times. I like fast food, and the food did look some good fast food. However, it was insanely expensive, like a $13 hot dog or something like that. That's like $20 Canadian for a hot dog. You can screw that. I'm never gonna pay that. But yeah, other than that, and then no vegetarian option. I mean, it's Los Angeles. What are you doing?
Yeah. Should just put them at In-N-Out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mercedes is good, but over 50,000 starting for the cheapest model. Yeah, and that's the. I'm sorry.
The EQC is the cheapest one.
No, they have. I mean, they have that EQ. It's not even an EQB. It's like a $50,000 one. But yeah, the the high end batteries are gonna be in the very high end.
Yeah, it's going to be the EQS and things like that. Yeah.
All right. Auto OEMs are continuing to have problems getting Tesla to help with their onboarding to their network. Too few people. What would that mean specifically?
I think it means the supercharger network. Like, I think I remember some of the OEMs complaining about that, like last year and earlier this year. I would have assumed that it cleared out a little bit, but still, we are like 2 years into like the industry basically all adapting NACS in North America, and they're still onboarding some automakers on the network. So yeah, there's obviously some things holding things back right now.
All right. The whole concept of downtown drive is stupid, illogical. You can't hog a charger for the length of a feature movie. You can't count on getting a charge because people are blocking the chargers.
Yeah, apparently it's already becoming a problem, and they have to change the HIDL fees and all that at the station, because it is a very big charging station and a useful one in the city to a degree. But I mean, I don't think anyone is going to go to that diner to watch a movie or anything like that. The full movie. You get into
they
the
should have
diner
just TV shows or something, 20 minutes.
Yeah, and then you're out and something to eat, and that's it. It's not a bad idea. I don't hate it.
All right. Carl says, am I the only one to say that the Uber Lucid announcement as a desperate PR ploy to keep Lucid alive? I mean, there's some money involved, isn't there?
Yeah, there's Uber invested $300 million in Lucid, so it's not just a PR ploy. There's obviously an actual partnership being built. And like we discussed when they announced the bill last time, the deal, the Gravity is a great vehicle for ride hailing, for an automated or not automated ride hailing service. So yeah, I think it's smart for Uber and Lucid to get on board with that.
All right, State of Charge is on the same tip as me with the minivan is a compliment, not a diss. Is that like less masculine? Yeah, I would be perfectly happy with a minivan. In fact, during my child rearing years, which are coming to a close now, I was very excited about the idea of an electric minivan. However, I'm exiting that part of my life. So I'm going back to, sports cars and sedans. And
we call that a midlife crisis.
That's right. That's my new phase. No more minivans. All right, Mike.
But I think I might be having also like a early midlife crisis, because I keep seeing like nice little Miata.
Yeah.
And I want an electric Miata so bad.
Yeah. That D-Car China thing they have a MG.
Oh yeah, the convertible one.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it might be fun to check that out. Mm-hmm. All right, Saudi PIF basically owns Lucid, and they have a modest stake in Uber. I think they help bring it together with their clout. That's interesting.
That makes sense.
Lucid are great innovators, driving toward better efficiency, but they need to get their lower priced Model Y competitor out ASAP. That makes sense. I agree.
They're working on it. It's supposed to come next year, and them buying what was left of Nikola kind of should help make things a little bit faster. I don't know how much faster, but they say it should accelerate things a little bit.
Save Charge says, have you guys sat in a Gravity yet? It's amazing how much interior room it has. Mm-hmm. I was at a Subaru event last week with my son, and the event was at the Gavesnort Hotel above a Lucid dealer. So they actually like had a Lucid in the lobby, basically, Gravity. So I did get my first sit in the Gravity, and it's beautiful. It's a really nice car.
Yeah, and how they handle the third row is like very minivan-like too, and everything.
Mhm.
So I can see all these comparisons making sense.
Just 7, any thoughts about how, if any, Chinese EVs could come to the US? I've been curious if partnerships between automakers could help bring over new technology, etc., or Volvo leverage Geely ownership. Yeah, I mean, Volvo is kind of how we've gotten some Chinese EVs into the US, kind of like the Volvo Trojan horse. But with the 100% tariffs, it's going to be hard to, I mean, even with the crazy prices that these Chinese EVs get, I don't know how you get one here to make sense.
Yeah, and
But
I think like there's it's the reverse card that's happening right now with China, where Tesla came to China, did the Gigafactory Shanghai, and that helped the industry a ton. There, they got a lot better quick, and now it's the other way around that's happening, where the rest of the industry is falling behind China, and China doesn't necessarily want the rest of the industry to get their technology and everything. So there was concern about makers even going to Mexico, and China was like, I don't like that too much. If you guys go to Mexico, maybe the technology seeps into the U.S. auto manufacturing sector. So I don't know how much desire and opportunity there are for Chinese automakers to partner with U.S. automakers to come to the U.S. So it's not as if that's the goal to avoid the tariffs there. I don't see that happening soon, but I hope I'm wrong.
our state of charge says, I don't think U.S. customers would accept it. The Zoe failed with that model in Europe. That's Renault.
Yeah, but Zoe was also pretty early in the EV revolution in Europe. I think like when I tried the battery swap, I think that you need the battery swapping too at the same time if you're doing that model of renting the battery pack. I think it helps. So, but I do agree that it's a consumer perception issue, like the way that they look at battery swap and battery renting. So it's a success in China. It's working in China. And Neo is trying it in Europe. So let's see how it goes in Europe, and maybe we get that in the US at some point. But I agree that it's going to be hard for a consumer to accept it.
All right,
I just don't think it's impossible.
JO Video says, do you guys have a podcast with guests? We have guests on here every once in a while. It's been a while, so we should probably start reaching out to people. Tom Malagny's in the chat. Maybe Tom wants to jump on with us. Mark Cornwall, will Tesla increase supercharger costs come fourth quarter to try to stay in profit? That would be.
I mean, they might increase the supercharger cost, but I don't think they're gonna keep making profit from that. I mean, unless they triple the cost or something. Not even then. Like it's nothing compared to the electric vehicle revenue. The sales of electric vehicle is still the vast majority of Tesla's revenue. The profit is going down quite a bit, though. That's fair. Even the energy storage deployment profits now are starting to compete with Tesla's electric vehicle. Not the revenue is still much smaller, but the profit is still pretty good on that. But that also will change. So I guess a few of the things I didn't mention that was said during the earnings too is, like, first of all, Elon admitted, he even named the quarters. He said, yeah, we might have tough quarters. I think he said rough or tough quarters in Q4, Q1, and Q2. Which we've been saying for a while now. Well, I mean, we weren't sure about Q4 until the big beautiful bill passed. Now it's clear that Q4 is going to be rough too. But he said that. But then he said then it's going to be smooth sailing from there, because after Q2 in the second half of 2026, the economics of Robotaxi are going to start to make sense, and then we're golden. First of all, like, just there, like, if you want to know just how much of Elon is lying, like, it's not even optimism anymore. It's straight up lying. He just told us that Robotaxi would cover 50% of the U.S. population by the end of the year. How does then that doesn't contribute positively to economics? Like, if that scale, that's a bigger scale than. I mean, it's as big as Uber, really, right? Because I think Uber, I mean, probably cover more than half of the population now, but there's plenty of, like, smaller, like, rural markets that they are not into, and all that. So there's it's being that scale, the Robotaxi would contribute positively to the economics. But then he says it's going to be the second half of next year. He says that because he knows it's not true. And it's not going to be true there at that point too. I think people are way too hyped about the Robotaxi stuff. I think on a financial basis, I mean, because obviously there's a ton of benefits for that. It's for people with less mobility and all that, it's great. And for the cost of traveling, it's going to be great too. But that's the thing. It's going to put a ton of pressure on the cost of travel per mile. That's really the real impact of that. And so that means a race to the bottom. So that's great for the consumer, but for the companies that are engaging in moving people from A to B, it's not going to be good. Like, it's going to be a big stress on Uber, a big stress on Lyft, and a big stress on Tesla and Waymo over time. And I think those that have the biggest coffers and the higher level of safety are gonna survive this. But I don't see Tesla. Tesla is like a good 5 years behind Waymo right now. So if you think that within a year they're gonna cover half the, and if you believe Elon, within 6 months they're gonna cover half of the US and start to make billions of dollars from that, I have a bridge to sell you. Yeah. All right, we no more questions. No more questions. All right, well, that's it for this week's episode of Electrek Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you can give us a like, a subscribe, a thumbs up, and all these things, it helps a ton, and it's free to do, and it takes a second, and we appreciate when you do it because it helps send the podcast to more people. Yeah, if you can do that, we'll appreciate it. And if you're listening on the podcast app and you want to give us a 5-star rating, only if you think we deserve it, that also helps a ton, and it's free to do. So we're going to see you same time, same place next week. Have a fun weekend. Whoop.